Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another WOD review. While the world's players are very busy in their preparations, a slightly less known tournament took place this weekend called Coup de France, where most of the French best players battled out to see who is the best player in the country. Therefore, today we're going to be jumping in game with Voltaruix and see how he managed to perform in one of his games. We are playing in the gold subscription and we checked that the Ionia is Path of Transcendence, which definitely is one of the strongest paths for this RA reroll. Get a rod that we could consider playing into it, as well as with a Jin pair and a Shen. And then allow way to pair with that, otherwise could be potentially considering holding on to this Kog'Maw. Going to do so, 2-star this Shen, and also we have the 2-star Kog'Maw. We have the Leeching Nucleus as one of our first wave mutations, something that can be quite decent in the Zoe Malzahar reroll, but you would be preferring the Adrenaline modules. However, this is quite nice and I find it quite neat as well. Simply because until your Leona is 3-star, a little bit of help to keep her alive is quite good. So coming on our spot, at the moment from the slams we are realistically only looking at the Stone Plate slam, which would more lean into the Zoe Malzahar reroll. We have the Choga that we can play around as well, as that's one of the ways to transition until you get to that Leona. There are some early game juggernauts that you can be playing around and carrying this Kog'Maw as an item holder for your Malzahar. Otherwise we can look at playing into this Ionia path as well. But unfortunately, I did not see any bows. That comp loves bows to be playing as well, and we still do not have any belts either. Therefore, seeing our augment choices, Latent Forge would be too late for us. We would be pretty much locked into a comp, and by that point, hopefully, and it could screw us over at the moment. Titanic Titan is something that we would go for a loose streak spot. And currently we have a potential to spike. We have the Shen tool, we have the Kog'Maw tool, we have a potential to make a quite decent board, so perhaps we're not looking that into it. However, very appealing is this Patience of the Virtue Augment. It's extremely strong, slightly, I would say, above Silver Augment in the right hands, and it can definitely enable this reroll kind of gameplay that we're looking for. Taking Econ, especially something that provides you free rerolls, is very, very good in these reroll comps. Band of Thieves is something that we would, if we had another slam, we could potentially use to hopefully tempo and tossing that as a front line, but we do not have a backline item to be really playing right. Created Craft Ring is just simply a weaker econ option right now. It's decent on counters where you get component anvils or something like a 5-component start. So we're going to be going with the Patience of the Virtues. This is also going to enable us to most likely be rolling for a Bard. So we do a quick math here to know that we can make 10 this turn, which is very strong if you are playing into this Bard line. This is simply going to provide a potential board, but since we only have this 2-star Shen at the moment, we are most likely looking to be low streaking at this point, since giving up 2 rerolls for a Jin pair without an item slam, sorry, for Jin 2, is not going to be worth it realistically. Same as here, we're not going to be holding onto this Ilaoi pair. We're going to utilize our Bard roll down to make the strongest board that we can possibly make and go from there. Hopefully that will provide us some clear direction. So one of our most important turns is going to be coming up right here. Q, as we can see from the rest of the lobby, there's already all your Demacia lines being played around. Someone is quite weak on their own, and so that's going to ruin our streak. We would ideally most likely wanted to have 5 lost here, but well, we can see that that is going to get snapped here, and there's most likely going to be quite a Demacia case. Find a single Leona, find an Aphelios that could potentially also be played, but it's going to be simply a weaker version of that. We do find a Milio, and we picked up our Bard. Roll a single next at time, which I would assume was most likely to see if we could potentially find an Eco, since we had the 3 reroll, and we picked up a Milio. But find a Leona pair instead. And, well, since this is one of the complicated turns, we took our time and did not get the slot in our Bard of our own. And we see that this seems to be... They are playing into Aphelios with a Bruiser Emblem. Could we potentially be seeing some form of a Aphelios reroll? I doubt, since we have already seen that there's a Yona on the board. We can see that there's someone playing into Yona. We can see someone's playing into Anari as well. For our component, we're going to be grabbing a Zoe with a chain here. Now, I was quickly wanted to see what other components were available for us at this point. Since we're playing into Zoe Malzahar, re-roll, most likely signaling that we have this Leona pair and a Stoneplate Slam. Obviously, we want to be making another frontline element, and I believe that the Stoneplate is, the Bramble Vest could be quite strong into this meta. We see there's also a lot of Blanc players, but there's going to be quite a bit of AP in the lobby that we have to consider. I would personally be prioritizing some form of a item component here at this moment. Obviously, the Zoe wand here is quite nice for ourselves, as it enables us to have some form of a carry. However, I do not know if, since we're going to be lose streaking, I want to be sorting my items out so in order to be spiking, but perhaps Volta prefers to save his HP this way. We do find that Nico, so it's worth sacrificing our 2 rerolls to see what we're going to get offered. Filling 2-star Nico, we immediately can exclude that. We're not going to be rolling for the Nico and probably not even hit it here. Having 10 of your units die in a player combat is something that we can consider. We are in this lose streak pact. We are on 2-5 at the moment. So we might be even able to complete that on to 3-1. So we have 2 rounds left. If we have to check a little under the cam there. Otherwise, losing 4-player combat is also a fine option if we wanted to go for that. We'll be on 3-2. Overall, if we just do a quick math around shards per turn, that would, I believe, come out to a little bit more shards per turn, and we are in the spot that I think we fought the weakest of the players already, therefore could be considering that, and we are going to be picking that up. Since we have few of the weaker players obviously in our pool, but all of them have started to making some form of board, and if we just simply sack and do not have any item slam, we believe that we should be able to lose streak through this. So what we're going to be doing with the Ixtal at this moment is we're going to utilize that as a little bit of an extra resource in flux for ourselves to simply power a little bit of an extra gold or some form of an items. I would believe that in this spot we're probably hoping for some kind of item cash out, or we could just be going for a dupe cash out, right? There are some cash outs that can potentially to provide you with dupes. I do not exactly at the moment recall top of my head. If I believe correctly, it was 225, and there was something in a higher of a little bit of a tier as well that we could be looking into. Now, finish here on the 3 loss position to sack, going to level just to ensure that the Krugs don't give us a beating as well. Unfortunately, we won that round, so we do not have the exact extra econ slot, so we have to rely on this Ixtal to hopefully sort this out. We have an eco in the shop, but I do not believe it's worth locking all the way this Nico pair to 235. We see the golds have only dropped us 2 golds. The Tom Conch is being a little bit of a grumpy fish today, not giving us that much gold. So thankfully we're playing around this Ixtal and we have a strong econ on with a pair with that. Again, going to positioning quite aggressively for the sack. That's fine, I suppose. I'm starting to get a little bit worried about the HP count if we went on how we're going to spike. But I'm talking about shop locks. If we were to lock a shop, we would probably be doing so. And if we found a Leona or a Malzahar or a Zoe, then the single shop is worth more than the extra natural refreshes you would be getting all the way up to 3-5. Now, on our augment selection now, if we are still playing with this plan of going into Zoe Malzahar reroll, Epoch would not be providing that much value at the moment. This is going to be more leading into your fast 8, fast 9 kind of comps. Mess Hall is something that obviously attackers, Jinx, Yunara, something that has a lot of auto attackers and can benefit from attack speed. Not exactly the comp that we're looking at, so therefore we probably have to be leading with Gold Destiny at this moment. Ideally, we're probably fishing for a item augment at the moment. As we look, we do not have a JG completed. We do not have a Nashor's. We have a half of Nashor's. We have this as most likely would be a Shojin. Otherwise, it would have to be something like a GS. Find the Jeweled Lotus, which could definitely sort our items and potentially spike and provided since we only do not have a single JG yet, this would enable the other carry to have the crit option. Healing Orbs is something that they quite enjoy in this thing, also in these single frontline comps, as you are able to just simply keep feeding them a little bit of an extra HP. I know Darius can go bonkers, but it's same with probably Leona 3. And Therefore, probably these are good combat options right now. I know a lot of players very highly value this Jeweled Lotus, therefore I would be considering it. We do get offered a magic roll, and this is TFT, alright, let's just fucking gamble here. Since we had to look at the magic roll as a potential for econ or items. Obviously the roll here is getting that HP. But we do get items, and not particularly the items that we're looking for, and we get a pan as well. I'm not even sure what the pan becomes in this comp, really. We're going to be slamming that Nasher's tooth, and hopefully we're able to secure a glove to pair with that on the carousel. We have to be getting a glove, but now that we're left with is a Stoneblade DB. Worst case, probably this can become a Gunblade. Now we're probably looking for our Ixtal cashout to hopefully be some form of a item or something with items, right? Nico survives 15 glare combat is something that we can potentially do, but our front line, we will have to be queuing into someone very weak. Okay, with this board and level 5, we're probably not doing it. The reason we're going to be staying level 5 is because if we have to find something like actually this lose 3, we're perfectly going to complete that. We can find hopefully a buy XP quest that we're able to just send it on 4-1 and rerolling shop 6 times. We would be able to do that now, but we're not looking to spike, we're level 5. And the worth payout is not that worth it. So we're probably playing 3, lose 3 right now. Going to stay this level 5 in order to accumulate as much as resources in hopes for buy XP. I also doubt that we're going to be playing something like a Ixtal Flex, as that's more of a from a tempo spot, I would presume. And we still are positioning in this weird way as they see that this another player is also sacking their way, not exactly into sure to which line. Up in our wrong item, we carousel, we want to gun for the glove, but the glove gets denied from ourselves, so we're going to pick up another bow instead on a swing that can generally be played quite decently. And it also gives us an option to kill one of these swords through a GS, obviously, right? Okay, what we are mapping out here a level 8 board, it seems, centered around a Seraphine. Yeah, this player is playing into this RE read also. They wanted their glove of their own. And also obviously denying this us. And now we queue into them, sack the whole stage, but didn't do it. Didn't manage to get it. And we're going to stamp a Sloan Plate instead, so we are now committed to this fast 8 game plan. Obviously, since we were not able to spike right now with the 3-cost reroll, we had to abandon this plan, because you do not want to be playing 3-cost reroll for 1 or 2 lives, right? You want it to be doing so in the... We have to be looking now for something that can potentially help us enable to win out stage 4. That would lead and let us some placements, and if we're able to high roll, maybe play for a top 3 as well. Very well adjusted game plan, again noted by the Ixtal quests and the potential to be like navigating the game. We change our plans, adjusted the lobby, and see what we can potentially be playing around and how to maximize our EV from every kind of spot, right? Now we would be 2 lives if we play 3-cost reroll. Had to be sending all the way this down. We have the rerolls, but this comp, especially the Zoe Malzahar reroll, is just not as strong. Obviously, Snap picked the buy XP here at this point, but just quickly, empty bench, too slow, 50 too slow. Obviously, we have to be taking this buy XP. This is what we're saving up for. And nicely, it seems that we're able to also make 50 here. Going to unlock the Skarner as well. I would assume that at this point in this pan, we are looking to make something like an Invoker emblem for the Seraphine. This Leona has decided to come back. Unlock the Skarner, going to just cash out as we have to spend. And we just full sell here and go level 9, level 8, having to go for a roll. Now pick up Seraphine, pick up the Zir as well, pick up a Tarek too, which is going to stabilize our front line. Coming up, a very Snap picks the Blast Shield, just as quickly check on our options. Obviously EMP is not going to be that great, and the caster might has a little fallen, and the favor is not a great. Electrical Overload, just Blast Shield simply sort our front line down, is generally going to be the strongest of the options. Very well spotted turn, and we also cashed out a Radiant Death Cap, going to slam the JG that we found, and the neatly fit that we recognized that instead of prioritizing an emblem, we knew to get a Shred in line. And we have this Declaw as well, just a simply and neatly executed turn by Voltaruix here. Being able to obviously have mapped out the units, but able to perform all these actions. This was something that you're just able to get through experience of playing a lot of the game. Also picked up a zillion that could potentially enable us to, if we find that Invoker emblem, and be able to get slap that on. However, I'm not sure if we would want to be getting rid of the Radiant Death Cap at this point even anymore. Could potentially be looking for something like a Juggernaut emblem for our front line. And up on our last augment here, where again we are on playing from currently 2 lives. But if we queue into someone bad, something like a stage 5 or early stage 6, this could be a single life. Therefore, we're looking for something that can at least get us there, right? We need something that's going to spike us. Radiant Relics can be quite flippy. We have no use of AD items at this moment. Coronation, I'm not sure, but we will going to be having an extra slot if we're able to keep around this Azir. But again, not immediate power value right now. And Bronze for Life is going to be hard to slot this in at the moment as well. So I would probably assume we're defaulting Coronation at this point, unless we're going to gamble with items. Fine, they hold the line, and this is going to be quite strong with our Azir soldiers, so we're able to play around that. Component has delayed value, cannot be considering that at the moment. Otherwise, strong item augment and Rascal Gloves, we do not have an exact holder of them right now. If we got to the Renekton, that would be good, but we cannot be playing for a future right at the moment. We have to be playing for the present. And we're going to be able to find that. And we're still sitting on a 7 rerolls. As you can see, that turn was just so heavy on their APM, but executed extremely cleanly. And I believe that with this combat augment now, that this is going to be the Prismatic Sky in the lobby. We're going to be considering quite strong. Also, the Defender emblem on to this Taric here is quite good. Obviously, his best emblem is something like a Warden emblem, since this synergizes with the shields, but getting the 3rd tank item here is very crucial for ourselves, as we have the Defender in, and you simply want to have the maximum value. And yeah, nicely spotted. This allows us to drop us. This is why we have this Warrior picked up. We're able to get Invoker in, get the Zillion rolling as well. And we're still scouting around and seeing now that the gold sub had not been generous, therefore it's going to be quite strong. Obviously going to be frontlining this single star Ori that is not going to do much on its backline, and simply providing our carries with a little bit of an extra oomph is quite good. And the Seraphine is putting in work with this Radiant Death Cap. Very happy to see the Seraphine unit finally finding some slot and some kind of form of a play outside of the standard Lysandra Seraphine line, which that was, well, it was overperforming due to a bug with the Disruptor, and once they fix that, the line is just played from extremely niche spots that I myself personally do not finding totally much. Obviously, you're going to find yourself in this kind of slot a lot either, but it's going to be fine. Now noting that we do not have this spot for the Renekton at the moment, but since we have this Zillion at this time, and we can potentially be considering going 9 already on something like 5-1, we are just going to value the shop and lock it. Again, single copy is going to be worth more than something like 2 or 3 natural shop refreshes. Now this Kai'Sa Vayne comp, obviously they have the Dragon Guards, which are going to make it even stronger. Was able to still almost on a single item Vayne to burst through our Taric. I mean, obviously probably the Kai'Sa did more damage there, but simply the way that they're able to deal with these chunky frontliners, especially in the game right now when we're playing around a single beefed up tank, that is the way you generally going to be playing TFT with all these comps nowadays. This is just so extremely strong into a Jinx comp that has Ascension. They have also the Giant but Mighty. However, they do not have much else going on their damage compartment for them, and we simply have a second itemized carry almost as well. So we're able to take them out, and still they are on Jinx 2 as well as we are. So most likely finish the 5 streak here, and going to have that little bit of extra recon. Find something that could become a JG. No, right? We wanted, yeah, JG Morello here, right? We want that anti-heal sorted out. Going to be leveling here, picking up on some of our upgrades, hitting all the upgrades very neatly. Find a Shyvana, and are we going to value a Shyvana over Renekton? I'm going to consider Renekton, and that enables us to find a Rise as well. Now, I would assume we would want to be keeping the Zillion around since we have that Invoker, and the Piltover is also quite nice of a mod that we could be considering. I'm interested to see how we're going to mapping out this board if we are picking up this Rise. The Rise pair, alright, we're buying that, and are we looking... Ooh, so we're considering going level 10 here. Then I assume the Shyvana cannot make our board, and... if we were to roll, obviously we can replace the Nico with Silas, since we have that Ganner plan for that as well. Otherwise, yeah, it seems that we're just going to be holding on to this rise. We're going to value the Zillion here. There's a nice debuff spreader, and we only have a JG at the moment for this. We would probably have the transitioning Seraph. We would have to be rolling here for this rise too, from this rise pair, obviously, and then transition the Seraphine items onto the rise. But it does not fit our board. We would have to be giving up on a Zir, I believe, at that point, and then it's just only a 2 region rise, which is not going to be as strong either. I'm going to move the Zillion items to the Azir. Obviously, Zir is quite decent with some of the caster items. People are generally playing around with the Rage Blade, but as you can see, putting in quite a bit of work. Zillion is going to be stronger, I would assume, at least with this itemization, onto the level 10 if we are going to make it there. Pick up a blue buff nicely since I have that big prio still. But we are holding onto the Shyvana, so I'm interested to see how we're going to be playing this out. We could be going level 10 if we wanted to now, but we're not going to have the extra econ to buy these units. I believe that we have to be evaluating here. Are we worried about having to be pushing from this spot? We're going to believe that we are strong enough, and this should be fine. Onto the now into the Vayne Kaiser board. I don't know how that's strong, how we're going to perform. We simply have this extra front line and this insane amount of damage that their front line is not able to stall long enough for this Vayne and the Kaiser to fully ramp up, and we're going to be winning out. This is a game you do not get to see every day. Simply displaying great fundamentals of the TFT and something that this set fully enables through your unlocks, through the various possibilities of capping this board, which has made this set so great, and transitioning into the next set if it really truly names Space Gods without the extra unlocks. It's going to feel a little bit weird in my opinion. But hey, maybe the Space Gods can cook up something nice. For those who don't know, the PAX graphic released on Twitter a couple of days ago really spoiled the next set name. So yeah, I'm going to be going for level 10 at this point. Still holding on to this rise pair, haven't done that much. Zillion's going to have a little bit of value. Pick up the rise too quite neatly. Fishing for rise 3, I would assume, is also a possible win condition. Find the Zillions, miss Zillion 3, unlucky. Find the... Oh, so we're going to be slotting out this Carnet for the Shyvana, obviously. Well, there are quite a lot of 80 players, and speaking of them, they were queuing to one already, but the Shyvana is just going to be general buff that is going to help us against all of the boards, and durability is going to be a little bit better, especially into this range through damage than simply the extra armor. Fishing for a Seraphine 3 is a potential out. Still have not managed to find the Garen 2, as there's just so many massive, I believe there were so many Demacia players. And at this point, we're just not really hitting. Holding on at this Carter for some weird reason, but into LeBlanc Darius reroll, who seem to interestingly be positioning in a way that this Darius does not get immediately focused down. I simply just want to go back quickly here, check this positioning. You see, we are doing this. So this will be something form of an innovation with playing around this Vayne, perhaps, as if you have this Darius single front line at this, he's just going to get bursted down by the Vaynes through damage in most of the cases. And this way you could potentially be protecting him after the roll, after the Rishi re-aggro sometimes, simply keeping this Darius a little bit alive for longer. Well, that is assuming they did not reposition for ourselves, but I'm not exactly sure what they would have. Anyhow, that's an interesting thing to know. It's something that I could potentially be testing out in my own games. Find the Swain 2 finally to end it, and the Garen as we sold one comes back. But this is going to be our cap board coming up against this LeBlanc player as our last fight again. But as we saw already, we are just so high capped that we should be quite fine to beat him. This Rise, the Seraphine, the Zillion is just simply a monster compared to Quick Striker, Shojin, Senna that they have as a duo carry. And we're able to pick up a win here. Very masterfully played game by Voltaruix, cooking up a quite interesting board that we do not get to see every day, and playing well, recognizing we need to spike. how we spike and adjusting his game plan in the early game to give himself a best chance to play for placements. And since we were able to get this as 0 on level 8, we were able to potentially play for a win out as well. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something new, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.